ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुक्तपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So welcome to corporate Bhagavad Gita. We are continuing with 5th chapter and verse number 4. Before we continue, Arjuna asked this question. After hearing the 4th chapter and hearing that one needs transcendental knowledge, and to do that, to get that transcendental knowledge, one has to do sacrifice, and various kinds of sacrifice were discussed. Now he is asking whether I should renounce work or I should work in devotion. He thinks if I give up work, then I don't have to face all the problems that are there. But Krishna tells him to work, and then work with devotion, he says. So which is best for me? The first one or the second one? So definitely Krishna says work in devotion is better. So we discussed that. And let's move to verse number 4. Sankhya yoga pritagda balaha prabhavanti na pandita ekam api astitha samyak ubhayor vindate phalam. Only the ignorant speak of the devotional service, that is karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world. Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. So work in devotional service, and there is another process which is called Sankhya Yoga. So in Sankhya Yoga, one does philosophical speculation, and they discuss about how this world is, what it is made of, what are its elements, earth, water, air, fire, and they keep thinking about it, discussing about it. Then after a long time they come to the same conclusion, that there is a supreme lord and I need to do devotion service to him. The other method is direct devotion service, karma yoga. So Krishna is saying that some people think these two are different, but actually they are not different. They will end up being devotional service only. Okay, we'll get into the purport. The aim of analytical study of the material world is to find the soul of existence. So this philosophical study and all that is done so that it's done by very learned people. Those who can sit and read for hours, those who can do tapasya. The Sankhya Yoga is meant for them. Okay. So the soul of the material world is Vishnu, the super soul. Devotion service to the Lord entails service to the super soul. One process to find the root of the tree and another is to water the root. So Sankhya Yoga is a process by which you find what is the root of the tree. And Karma Yoga is a process where you actually water the root. So there is some advantage of Karma Yoga, that directly start the final process, that is serving the Supreme Lord. The real student of Sankhya philosophy finds the root of the material world, Vishnu, and then in perfect knowledge engages himself in the service of the Lord. So in Sankhya Yoga what happens is they come to the conclusion after many years or lifetimes that Vishnu is Swarmamiti, and therefore I need to worship him. and you do devotional service to him. Therefore, in essence, there is no difference between the two because the aim of both is Vishnu. Those who do not cultivate and say that the purpose of Sankhya and Karma Yoga are not the same, but one who is learned knows the unifying aim in these different processes. So there are different processes, but if the goal is same, the goal is same, then even the purpose of the purpose processes are also same. So we should not see them as different. So Arjuna was thinking that the Sankhya Yoga, if I do, then I have to speculate, meaning I have to leave my home, family, forest, and go to a forest. So he was thinking that is much better. But Krishna says no. Do work in devotion. Don't stop work. 5.5 Yat Sankhya Prapatya Sthanam Yad Yogair Api Gamate Ekam Sankhyam Sa Yogam Sa Yada Pashyanti Sa Pashyati Ya Pashyati Sa Pashyati. One who knows the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotion service, and who therefore sees the analytical study and devotion service to be on the same level, see things as they are. So actually both are going towards the same goal. So one should see the sameness between the two processes. Should not see them as different. Like there is Bangalore city or there is Delhi city. A person who is entering into the city from the south direction, and another person is entering into the city from the north direction. You're not going to consider it to be separate, right? You'll think it is the same goal. Therefore, the road is the same, like that. It's not like they are completely different, it's just the road. Okay. So the real purpose of philosophical research is to find the ultimate goal of life. When the ultimate goal of life is self-realization, there is no difference between conclusions reached by the two processes. By Sankhya philosophical research, one comes to the conclusion that a living entity is not a part and parcel of the material world, but of the supreme whole. So they do a lot of research, a lot of contemplation, and then they come to the living entity is not part of this world. It is something different. See, even the scientists, they have come to this conclusion that there is something within us. Consciousness is antimatter. They call it antimatter, which is not matter actually. Matter means which is earth, water, air, fire, ether. It is not one of that. It is anti. So the Sankhya philosophers, they will come to the conclusion that the living entity is not a part of this world, but is actually part of the supreme world, spirit soul whole. Consequently, the spirit soul has nothing to do with the material world. His actions must be in some relation with the supreme. When he acts in Krishna consciousness, is actually in Krishna consciousness position. In the first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter, and in the devotional service, yoga process, one has to attain himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. So these are some details. What exactly happens in Sankhya Yoga? So if you see, first thing in Sankhya Yoga is that one should be detached from matter. He should leave everything. So this is what Arjuna was thinking. That should I leave everything? But Krishna is like no. Both processes are the same. Same in sense, the goal is the same. Don't think them to be different. You do what is best for you. Actually, both processes are the same. Although superficially one process appears to involve detachment and other process appears to involve attachment. So in Sankhya Yoga it is with detachment, and in Karma Yoga it seems like it is involving attachment. Detachment from material and attachment to Krishna are one of the same thing. One who does not, one who can, sorry, one who can see these things, one who can see this sees things as they are. So practitioner of whether Sankhya Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, they have two things in common. One is that they are detached from matter, they're detached from this world. They don't want anything from this world. But at the same time, they are attached to Krishna. How? Through their spiritual master. Okay. Any questions here? Any questions? Okay. This is little bit philosophical. संन्यासस्तु महाबाहो दुःखम आपनोत अयोगता योगयुक्त मुनिर्ब्रह्मा न चिरेणाधिगच्छति. In the sixth verse, he's saying, merely renouncing all activities yet not engaging in devotion service of the Lord cannot make one happy. So, giving up everything does make happy, does make people happy or something. For some people, yes, and for some people, it is miserable, right? Let's say if they go to some place and they are not getting the same facility as they got at home, we will see that the person is very miserable, right? He will say, what, there's no facility here, right? So, um, so in general, people, to be happy, they cannot renounce so easily. Renounce means they cannot give up so easily. Okay? There will be a struggle, and some people may not be able to go through that struggle also. Therefore, devotional service is meant for everyone. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. Without delay, he can achieve the supreme. There are two classes of sannyasis or persons in renounced order of life. The Mayavadi sannyasis, who are engaged in the study of Sankhya philosophy, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are engaged in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam philosophy. So, um, so who studies Sankhya philosophy? Mayavadis. And and the devotees, they serve the Lord. The Mayavadi sannyasis also study the Vedanta Sutra, but use their own commentary called the Sariraka Bhasya, written by Shankaracharya. The students of Bhagavata school are engaged in the devotional service. Are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, according to Pancharatriki regulations, and therefore the Vaishnava sannyasis have multiple engagements in the transcendental service of the Lord. The Vaishnava sannyasis have nothing to do with the material activity, and yet they perform various activities in their devotional service to the Lord. But the Mayavadi sannyasis engaged in the study of the Vedantia and the Vedas and speculation cannot release the transcendental service of the Lord, because this study becomes very tedious and they sometimes become tired of Brahman speculation, and thus they take the shelter of Bhagavatam without proper understanding. Consequently, the study of Bhagavatam becomes troublesome. Dry speculation, dry speculation and impersonal interpretation by the artificial means are all useless for the Mayavadis, sannyasis. The Vaishnava sannyasis the Vaishnava sannyasis who are engaged in devotional service are happy in the discharge of their transcendental duties, and they have the guarantee of ultimate entrance into the kingdom of God. The Mayavadi sannyasis sometimes fall down from the path of self-realization and again enter into material activities of a philanthropic and altruistic nature, which is nothing but material engagements. Therefore, the conclusion is that those who engage in Krishna consciousness activities are better situated than the sannyasis engaged in simple speculation. But what is Brahman? About what is Brahman, what is not Brahman, everything, although they have too many classes Sorry, although they have too many, also they too have come to Krishna consciousness after many births. So, in this purport, Prabhupada talks about two types of sannyasis: Mayavadi sannyasi and Vaishnava sannyasi. Mayavadi sannyasi, Mayavadi sannyasi studies Sankhya philosophy, and Vaishnava sannyasis they study Bhagavad. Okay, this Sankhya philosophy is very dry. Dry means for how many of you visited any Buddhist place? Have you visited any Buddhist place? Yeah, so there you will see, the monks are very quiet and they will do meditation, and then for some time they will discuss. They'll study the books, they'll discuss. Okay, so most of the time that is their life. They'll discuss about nature, they discuss about life, like that. And the Vaishnava sannyasis, they will discuss Bhagavatam, and after that they will do service, practical service to the Lord in the form of the deity service. So that's the main difference between Sankhya philosophers and Vaishnava sannyasis. And Sankhya philosophers, because they have to keep thinking like this, and speculating, it may become very difficult to live. Not everyone can do that. Krishna is acknowledging here itself. Okay. Yoga Yukta Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma Jitendriya, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, Kurvam Apina Lipyate. One who works in devotion, who is pure soul and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Although always working, such a man is never entangled. So now Krishna is talking about those who work in devotion. They are pure souls because what they do, they control their mind and senses, and thus they become dear to everyone. Such a man is never entangled. One who is on the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness is very dear to every living entity, and every living entity is dear to him. We'll take an example. We'll take few examples. Now, because we have read mostly Hanuman, Ramayana, right? What is very dear to every living entity, and every living entity is dear to him. So, can you tell me how Hanuman is dear to all and everyone is dear to him from the stories that you have heard? Any thoughts that come to your mind? Yeah, yeah. Hmm. And he served everyone. Sugriva, Jamvan, Vibhishan, he served everyone. So that's how he became. Yeah, yeah. So that is the quality of a devotee. Hmm? That is the quality of a devotee. That he is dear to everyone, everyone is dear to him. Such a person cannot think living entity as separate from Krishna. So he would see all his monkey friends and members and would give them respect as he would give respect to Lord Ram, like that, and he would not see them as separate. Just as the leaves and branches of the tree are not separate from the tree, he knows very well that by pouring water on the root of the tree, the water will be distributed to all the leaves and the branches. Or by supplying food to the stomach, the energy is automatically distributed throughout the body. Because one who works in Krishna consciousness is uh, is servant to all, and he is very dear to everyone. And because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. Because his mind is controlled, his senses are also controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there is no chance of his being deviated from Krishna. Nor is there any chance that he will engage his. I'll read this whole thing, okay, and then we'll discuss. Nor there is any chance that he will engage his senses in matters other than the service of the Lord. He does not like to hear anything except topics relating to Krishna. He does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna. He does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Therefore, his senses are controlled. A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. So, a lot of things about the devotee is being explained. Okay, a devotee would hear topics related to Krishna. He would eat only prasad. He does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Right? There are many places where people go, but it is not always for any spiritual reason. Right? Um, People may go just for leisure purpose, but a devotee is not like that. He will only go when his Krishna is involved. Okay. Therefore, his senses are controlled. A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. One may ask why there was Arjuna offensive to others. Wasn't he Krishna consciousness? Was only superficially offensive because, as had already been explained in the shadow chapter, all the assembled people of the battlefield would continue to live individually as the soul cannot be slain. So spiritually, no one is killed on the battlefield. Other, only their dress is being changed on the order of Krishna, who was personally present. But Arjuna, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was not really fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such is a person never entangled in the material reactions of the world. Okay, this is very philosophical. Let's go to 8th verse. नैन किंचित करोमति युक्त मन्यते तत्र तत् पश्याम श्रीमान स्पृहं जिघ्रान असंगच्छन् स्वप्नम श्वासम प्रजल्पन विश्चन घृणम उन्मिषम निमिषम अपि इंद्रियाणि इंद्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्ते इति धारायाम. So here Krishna is explaining that what do the um, how does a devotee work? So devotee works in divine consciousness. Okay, all is eating, sleeping, mating, defending. He thinks that he has nothing to do with all. Okay, he's separate from the um, he's separate from the soul. So sorry, he is separate from the body, and uh, he sees that the body is doing it. Yesterday we discussed one example. Let me just show you. So here we have gulab jamun. Okay, now a person eats gulab jamun. Then what happens to that gulab jamun? So can yeah. So my question is, when we put gulab jamun in our mouth, do we tell our stomach to digest it? Do we tell it happens on its own, right? So that means this machine, we initiate it. We are giving definitely the electric pulse to this machine, but the machine is working on its own. Okay, and so are we the doer? Are we the real eater of the gulab jamun? No, right? We are only putting it, placing it in the tongue. Rest of the thing that happens from inside the stomach to coming out from the behind, all that is happening in our body, but we are not fully aware of it, right? We are not fully aware of it. So a devotee knows that this is just a machine, and whatever activity this machine performs, he is separate from it. He doesn't identify it so strongly. Okay, so all this eating, sleeping, breathing, everything that happens, he's nothing doing. He's not doing anything at all. Regarding the machine may move and all that, he may just do one press of a button and it may keep moving, but it can keep moving, and he doesn't have to worry ki now it will work properly or not, right? So the point that he is mentioning is that he actually does nothing at all, because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with the objects and that he is aloof from them. So it's like this picture. um, the soul the soul, does he eat the gulab jamun? No, right? It's only the body which tastes it. Yeah. So, uh, so the point to mention here is, hmm, so the point to mention here is that all this eating, sleeping, mating, defending one is doing, the soul is actually aloof from it. Okay. So this chapter is very philosophical. Okay. It will go like this only. So I'll try to make it easy, but it has all this philosophy, and the reason why this philosophy is given is that um, so that with our intelligence we can come to understand it, and then we can decide whether to do this thing or that thing, and to become fixed in our spiritual life. So philosophy is very important. A person in Krishna consciousness is pure in his existence and consequently has nothing to do with any work which is dependence on his five immediate and remote causes: the doer, the work, the situation, the endeavor, and fortune. This is because he is engaged in the loving transcendental service of Krishna. Although he appears to be acting with his body and senses, he is always conscious of his actual position, which is spiritual engagement. In the material consciousness, the senses are engaged in sense gratification, but in the Krishna consciousness, the senses are engaged in satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, Krishna conscious person is always free, even though he appears to be engaged in the affairs of the senses. Let me finish this. Activities such as seeing, hearing are actions of the senses meant for receiving knowledge, whereas moving, speaking, evacuating are actions of the senses meant for work. A Krishna conscious person never affected by the actions of the senses. He cannot perform any act except in the service of the Lord, because he knows that he is the eternal servitor of the Lord. So this is another way to understand what was said previously, that um, all the processes that we do with the body, the soul has nothing to do with it. It is only for the body. Okay. ब्रह्मण्य आद्य कर्माणि संगम त्वक्ता करोति यः लिप्यते न च पापेन पद्मपत्रम इवं वशात्. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful reactions, as a lotus seed is unattached. Mm, Okay. So if we perform our duty selflessly, without any attachment, and we surrender that result onto the Supreme Lord, then sin doesn't come upon us. Okay. How that happens is, we have discussed the example of a soldier. He fights in the battlefield on the order of the government or king. So when he comes back, is he put into jail saying that you killed 100 people? No, right? So such a way that his activity of killing is non-affected. Okay, just like a lotus leaf is untouched by water. How many of you seen lotus leaf, lotus flower? So just let me. If you see the lotus flower, right? It is above the water. Doesn't touch the water. You see? Yeah. So in Krishna consciousness is like this. That sin doesn't touch him. Even though everyone may see him that he is in this world, but sin won't touch him. Why? Because he's doing his activity and he's offering that result to Krishna. Here Brahmani means Krishna consciousness. The material world is some total manifestation of the three modes of material nature, technically called the Pradhan. The Vedic hymn Sarvam E Etat Brahma. This is from Mandukya Upanishad. Tasma Deva Brahma Nam Rupa. This is this is from Mukunda Upanishad, and the Bhagavad Gita. Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma indicate that everything in the material world is a manifestation of the Brahman. And although the effects of the effects are differently manifested, they are not different from the cause. There's a lot of philosophy. It's not very straightforward also. Okay, it's okay if we go a little bit faster. There's no problem. In the Upanishad, it is said that everything is related to the Supreme Brahman or Krishna, and thus everything belongs to Him alone. One who knows perfectly well, one who knows perfectly well that everything and that everything is engaged in the service of the Lord naturally has nothing to do with the results of his activities, whether virtuous or sinful. Even one's material body, being a gift to the Lord for carrying out the particular type of action, can be engaged in the Krishna consciousness. It is then beyond contamination by sinful reactions, exactly as the lotus leaf, though remaining in the water, is not wet. The Lord is also in the Lord also says in Gita, reassign all works unto Krishna. The conclusion is that a person without Krishna consciousness acts according to the concept of the material body and senses. But a person in Krishna consciousness acts according to the knowledge that the body is a property of Krishna and therefore should be engaged in the service of the Lord. There's a contrast done here. So a person without Krishna consciousness, according to the concept of the material body and senses, but yeah. So one who is without Krishna conscious, right? He will be dictated by his body. Okay. And one with Krishna consciousness, he sees that this body is also Krishna's property. So I will use it in Krishna's service. Okay. Let's कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैर इंद्रियैरपि योगिन कर्म कुर्वन्ति संगत्वक्ता आत्मशुद्धि. The yogi is abandoning attachment, act with the body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. So to purify oneself, one will work in this world, okay, not for sense gratification. Is there any questions or comments you can ask me? When one acts in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of senses of Krishna, any action, whether of the body, mind, intelligence, or even the senses, is purified of material contamination. Therefore, no more material reactions resulting from the activities of Krishna conscious persons. Therefore, purified activities, which is generally called sadachara, are easily performed by acting in Krishna consciousness. Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, a person acting in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, in the service of the Lord, which is body, mind, intelligence, is a liberated person even in the material world. He has no false ego, for he does not believe that in this material world, but that he possesses the body. Oh, he knows that he is not the body, and this body belongs to him, does not belong to him. He himself belongs to Krishna, and the body too belongs to Krishna. When he applies everything produced of the body, mind, intelligent words, life, wealth, etc., whatsoever he may have, whatever he may have within his position to Krishna's service, he is alone. He is at once total to Krishna. He is one with Krishna and devoid of the sense gratification. That leads one to heavenly kingdom. Okay, where it is. The false ego that leads one to believe that he is the body, etc. This is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. So, what is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness? That everything, my mind, body, intelligence, wealth, everything belongs to Krishna. That is perfect stage. So, if this is the perfect stage, then what to speak of our stage, you and me? What do you think will be suggestion for us if we are not able to do this? Perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. Any thoughts? Yes, for us it has to be practice. It has to be practice. We cannot immediately go to the pure state. We have to practice. Yeah, and then over a period of time, we will come to that pure stage. So this is what Krishna is explaining Arjuna. Arjuna is thinking that I will give up work. But Krishna is saying, no, you do work and offer that to the Supreme Lord. In this case, Krishna himself is the Supreme Lord. He says that is much better. Don't give up so easily. Yukta karma phalam taktam santim apnoti naishtikam ayukta kama karena phala sakto nibhadyate. A steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine um, whereas the person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. So one who wants to keep the fruits with himself, right, and not share it with the Supreme Lord, then he is not in union with the divine. Okay. Oh. The difference between a person in Krishna consciousness and a person in bodily consciousness is that the former is attached to Krishna, whereas the latter is attached to the result of his activities. The person who is attached to Krishna and works for him is certainly a liberated person. He has no anxiety over the result of his work. In the Bhagavatam, the cause of anxiety over the results of any activity is explained as being one's functioning in the conception of duality, that is without knowledge of the absolute truth. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, the personality Godhead. In Krishna consciousness there is no duality. Although there exist, all that exists is the product of Krishna's energy, and Krishna is all good. Therefore, activities in Krishna consciousness are on the absolute platform. They are transcendental and have no material effects. One is therefore filled with peace and Krishna consciousness, but one who is engaged in profit calculation for sense gratification cannot have that peace. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness, the realization that there is no existence besides Krishna is the platform of peace and fearless learning. So, so here again the same discussion is going on from a different angle. That if one doesn't offer the activities to Krishna, then he becomes greater for those results. Okay, and thus he becomes entangled. Entangled means there's a thread. So entangle means like a spider's web. Only the spider can not get entangled in its web. But if you ask, but if you see mosquitoes, they will definitely get entangled. And they'll be caught also very easily. Let's see. Did we read this? No. Okay, so here the question of peace is explained. What you all think that you will get peace in life? What is your concept of getting peace in life? What do you think is needed for peace in life? Any thoughts? Satisfaction. Okay. Okay. Right. So you all are thinking in the right direction actually. So if somebody is in profit calculation, right, he is very entangled. He won't get peace. Who is entangled in profit calculation for sense gratification cannot have that peace. So does it mean we should not calculate profit? No, it doesn't mean that way. What it means is a person he what what it means is um, it means that if it is our duty to calculate profit, then do it. Hmm? But then there are some people who will depend on that profit, and if the profit doesn't come, they will get carried away by it. They will neglect their spiritual life basically. So that should not happen. Neglect of spiritual life should not happen. Okay, does that help? See, devotees also do business, so they have to do some profit calculation, right? But then there are some people who do business, and for them profit calculation becomes their life. From morning to night they are only doing profit calculation, right? We have seen such business people. So that is not recommended here. Why? Because it takes us away from Krishna consciousness. So if it is a duty, you have to do a little bit profit calculation, then do it, but don't get carried away. It is not the ultimate goal. Some maintenance we need. some happiness we need materially also. Sarva karmani manasa sannyasete sukham vasi navadvare puri dehi naiva kuruvan na karayan. Okay, let's do this. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of nine gates, neither working nor causing work to be done. So, as I told you, this chapter is very philosophical. So, what Krishna is saying is, this is a city of nine gates. See the ears, the nose, the mouth, the anus, like this. There are many gates. So there are totally nine gates to this body. And how can we live happily in it? When he controls his nature and materially renounces all actions. Materially he renounces. Mentally, and mentally renounces all actions. Okay, we'll get into the purport. There will be something interesting coming up. The embodied soul lives in the city of nine gates. The activities of the body, or the figurative city of the body, are conducted automatically by its particular modes of nature. The soul, although subjecting himself to the conditions of the body, can be beyond these conditions if he so desires. Owing only to the forgetfulness of his superior nature, he identifies with the material body and therefore suffers. By Krishna consciousness, he can revive his real position and thus come out of his embodiment. Therefore, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, one at once becomes completely aloof from the bodily activity. In such controlled life, in which his deliberations have changed, he lives happily within the city of nine gates. The nine gates are mentioned as follows. The Supreme Person Godhead, who is living within the body of the living entities, control of all living entities, all over the universe. The body consists of nine gates. Two eyes. See, the gates are like they open and they are in out. So two eyes, two nostrils, two ears, one mouth, an anus, and genital. These are the gates. And the living entities living in that the living entities in the conditioned cell identifies with the body, and when he identifies with the Lord himself, he becomes just as free of the Lord even while in the body. Therefore, Krishna conscious person is free from outer and inner activities of the material body. So, if you go back, so there are two things. One is that he controls his nature, and then second is he mentally renounces all activities. Mentally renouncing, if you look at it, it means one may do the activity, but one is not so much attached to that activity. He's just doing it out of duty. So therefore, he has kind of renounced also. He's not having attachment to the things that are there in front of him. Okay. So when he is able to renounce and control his nature, then he can live happily in this body. This is how the purport is explaining. Any questions on this?
No.
Okay. So this is how philosophical speculators they speculate, and they come to this understanding, and then they become peaceful. But for us, right? For us, and for even for Arjuna, Krishna is saying, you work. We all need to work. And then what we should do? Offer the result to Krishna. Okay. Okay, so it's 2 o'clock. Let's open up for some questions. Any comments? Any questions? Any questions or comments?
No, Prabhuji.
No.
Okay. Okay. So fifth chapter, right? We are in 14th verse. Okay, we are on 14th verse. These are interesting verses. Okay. Verse. Okay. I'll stop there.